Hey everybody, welcome to Options with Hans. I, of course, am Hans Albrecht, 15 years pro options market maker, and another decade after that running a whole bunch of income funds, downside protect funds. So, as always, it is your trade, your responsibility, and if you're okay with that, let's keep going. So, a little bit more. I've been warning you guys for a long time. This is not a market that is settled, right? There is an amazing amount of dispersion, as we talked about on the weekend. And over the last couple of weeks, there's an amazing amount of stocks going in one direction and other stocks sort of benefiting from that rush to safe haven status, right? The infrastructure, the consumer staples, areas like that, the stuff that you can drop on your toes. I've been talking about since December or November. That stuff has really played out very well. Remains to be seen if we start to lose some floor levels in the broader market. Remember that this can always turn into something a bit more serious, which would be, towards something I would call a little bit more of a liquidity event. I'm not getting massively bearish, but a little bit more liquidity event, and that's where they start to sell some of the things that they've actually been doing well in. So I've been selling some of the GEVs, the Quantas, the ETNs, the things that have been doing okay. Even some GLW this morning, as much as I love it. Now that's a trader, right? Do I think GLW is going to be higher in 2 years? For sure. But as a trader, I'm liquidating and raising cash in some areas to be able to take advantage of a potential pullback if they start to panic a little bit. So why do I think there could be a panic? Well, I've been talking to you about this software industry. So here's MongoDB, amazing results, really, really good. But again, remember, results don't really matter that much at this point. I'm not saying they matter zero, but what the market is saying is that we don't know what the results are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. And that's what is really part of the sentiment at this point. So remember a few months ago when crypto was really that signal. Remember when crypto just kept selling off? We had that big October 10th, I think it was, crypto liquidation event. And then we started to see a little bit of an unwind in general in markets as people got out of high beta and those areas that people have been pushing into for a long time and really enjoying that run up in AI as we knew the trade to be back in sort of 24, 25 when it was anything AI, right? Anything AI sort of did well. Now, I almost feel like software is a similar thing. They're not selling off because numbers aren't good. The numbers are really good from a lot of these companies. They're selling off because there is a fear that they don't know what the future holds. And I think that's a fair fear. I've been saying this for a while, is if you're using any of these tools, you 100% realize that something big is really, really happening here. If you're not using these tools, don't even bother opining on what's happening in software. You need to go and see this stuff, use it, realize how incredible it is, and you will definitely make the connections at that point that something very, very big is going on here. And that's why I keep saying I think the downside still remains. I've been buying puts in IGV. I've been even adding today. It's just the problem is, remember, markets kind of follow a narrative, right? And so what I always try to think of is durability. What's going to change at this point? I know that these models are only getting better. I know that the agentic AI is going to only get better and more capable. It will only do that. And it's happening much, much faster than even some of the top experts have expected. So we know that over the next year, there are just going to continue to be headlines. This tool can now do this. And that's basically what this SaaS company did for a while. I'm already developing workflows on my computer that enabled me to get rid of Notion and Slack and a whole bunch of other software packages. Does that mean a giant company is going to go out and do that? No, but the writing is on the wall. Eventually, this is going to spread up into the slightly bigger companies and then medium-sized companies, and there's going to be competition, and there's going to be a big potential for license revenue to disappear because of this and potentially job issues, and then eventually there's going to be incredible margin contraction. We can't paint every company with the same brush, but this is really a situation where you probably can paint a heck of a lot of them with the same brush, because this is, as I've said, a sort of extinction comet that has hit the industry. So if you look at some of these names, and what I want to point out is that some areas are getting hit. So look, here's Visa starting to come off, and I've been a little lukewarm on Visa and MasterCard for a while. because I think this transaction layer eventually is going to catch up to them too, right? We're going to be doing things with stable coins and things like that to mow their lawn, basically, take away some of their franchise, their moat, right? This is a market where moats are turning into puddles, right? There's no two ways about it when it comes to digital, when it comes to software, when it comes to intermediaries. People are getting disintermediated, and there's just that's going to continue because of how much power has been put into the hands of the average person and the average company. You think about what have the hyperscalers done over the years? Well, they've collected massive amounts of data, they've coded, they've created tools that we need and like and need. Well, you're giving that ability to people on a much smaller scale at this point. You can go out and scrape for all the data you want. You can start to create tools for almost zero cost, and then run them for a small minimal cost each month in terms of token usage, et cetera. So it's happening. Some of the things that a lot of companies have been paid handsomely to do, we are now able to do. And that is not an insignificant thing that's happening here. So MasterCard getting smoked. This is somebody asked in the chat today, and they said, "What American Express is American Express software?" Well, no, it's not software. But look at this chart, and I've liked this stock at times. We made a very nice trade in here, really nice win, and I haven't touched it since. But look at this chart. So it's not that they're software; it's that they are an intermediary, right? So technology often is sort of it disintermediates things. And so if this means that we're going to be creating more potential power, ability in the hands of other people because of these agentic tools and these personal software tools, maybe they get disrupted at some point because they are the ones who sit in the middle and grab that 2-3% from every single transaction that happens. You can bet that people are going to come along and say, "I've got a better solution for you." You think merchants are going to be interested in that? Of course they are. Of course they are. Is this going to happen overnight? Of course not. But the market is forward looking, and it is starting to worry about what is happening out there. Unfortunately, that is stretching to some of the names that I like. Snow, a bit of cybersecurity. Even the areas, I think agentic software is fantastic for Cloudflare. I mean, they're in the right place at the right time. They've even been very much customizing their solutions for agentic explosion type environments. But it doesn't matter. It's baby out with the bathwater, and it's difficult to argue with that. Now, importantly, one last point I'm going to make, because I've got to get to a class. Look at Goldman Sachs. Can't figure out what it's doing. Let's take a look at the XLF. So this is important, right? Remember I said recently on a video, I said, it's going to be very hard for a massive breakout to happen if we don't have participation from financials. And look what's happening here. So tough to say exactly what's going on because we know there's some news. Generally, it's been pretty good from a fundamental standpoint, but you have to start to think about, if you look at some of the credit companies, the Blue Owls, there is a possibility that we get a little bit of a shakeup in the credit area because I think there are going to be companies out there in the private space that maybe 2 months ago were a unicorn, right? So a unicorn is worth $1 billion. So maybe it was $1 billion a couple months ago, and now it's worth 100 million, or maybe it's not worth anything because of the threat that these new technologies pose. So it's going to be less of a positive free-for-all in this space, which was one of the reasons I liked Goldman. The deals that are going to be coming, the IPOs that are going to be coming. I think this industry is going to be a little unsettled because what does it do? It does lending. Look at SoFi, right? So remember I said a few months ago, I said, this is a name that I don't want to own. Now I've owned Hood and it hasn't done as well, but I think these are different animals. But SoFi, a little bit more exposed. That's what I said, a little bit more exposed to the average person, even though they're moving away from personal loans and things like that. This is an area where there could be a little bit of a shakeup. So you can see in here that, in my view, it's not difficult for me to imagine that things get a little bit more challenged in this environment before they get better. And now, having said all that, we know that there are incredible positive things because of productivity gains from these tools. So I think it's just going to continue to be a very binary market, some big winners, and some big losers. But now we're starting to stretch into, well, what other areas can get disrupted? We saw some financials, we saw some insurance companies, we've seen things move into other areas of the economy. And I have to ask myself, well, how much more of this disruptive environment can the market take, even though there are very positive things out there? So I think that general uncertainty and unsettled vibe that is out there is something to take note of, and I think means that we're probably not going to break out from an index level. We're going to continue to see dispersion, which means lots of things doing one thing and lots of things doing the other. That means it's a trader's market, and we are going to trade the heck out of it in Leaps, in Turbo Trader Pro, the scanner program that we run. We've got some amazing ways for people to get involved and stay on the right side of things. And if you've been following me, you know I've been on the right side of AI for a very long time. We started rotating into infrastructure and things like that months ago, and here we are. So everybody have a great day. I've got to run now. And if you're interested, check out in the description, check out the different things that we offer. It's as simple as some free ebooks. Join, take part, and we'll see you soon.